Okay, so this is part one on doing the full restoration on my 71 trac 14. So I actually have the new used flywheel shroud on there because it never had one before. Link in the video description for the video on when I merged the trac 12 rear frame and the ss16 front frame together on it, and I did get it moving and running. The carburetor was cleaned since then and put on and then never tested, so it should still be fresh. So I'm gonna get this thing tore apart and come back. Okay, so as you can see, I got the whole thing tore apart and I already got it put on a pallet. So the next thing to do is to get everything down to bare metal and then of course clean it up for paint. So on the rear frame, I wasn't about to mess with it / try to take it off. Is the forward and reverse lever. Can't get a good angle, of course, with the camera at where I'm at, but that whole piece that you see right there, all of that has to come off. And there's a lot more going on there than what I want to mess with, and I don't want to break anything. I already messed up the parking brake because that's not wanting to come off. So I already got that messed up, so I didn't want to break anything else. So I got the engine right here, and the one shroud or one engine that I bought just for the shroud, it turns out that the shroud actually fits. Bolt fits there like it's supposed to, and then there's a bolt over there, and then over here all that lines up perfect. Was one thing I was wondering is how this pulley here comes off. It's just these two bolts and it just slides right off. The coil wire, haven't exactly figured out where that's going to go through yet. This isn't on there properly, so probably going to end up just cutting a little notch in the cover right there, and then this should be able to fit up through it. Otherwise, where it's at right now, I'm worried it's going to get too hot. So got a box of miscellaneous parts there that needs to get cleaned up and then reused. This is just a box of parts that somehow just kind of ended up with it. Got an extra set of deck hangers, the steering wheel that I would like to use but haven't figured out yet how to fix it, a brand new muffler that I bought for this and completely forgot about it, an extra side frame piece, several regulators for the charging system. There's like 3 or 4 in here because I went through it. Emblem for the hood, or for the grill, another side cover. It's like whenever I ended up with some extra parts, I just threw it in there, I guess, because I've got another side cover here, pulley cover, another fuel tank. Everything is pretty much on this pallet that's for it. And then over here, I have the transmission. This thing is huge and it's extremely heavy. But this would be nice to get cleaned up and try to figure out exactly how it works. So from what I've gathered, because this is the first time I've ever had one of these out, is that this is an Eaton transmission of some kind that is on a Tecumseh Peerless. I forget the exact model, but it's a Tecumseh Peerless axle that's actually cast iron. And it is supposed to have a fan on here, and I do have one. That it's off of another model of hydro, but I should be able to make it fit that. And of course, all the tires from it. I'm going to get these rims ready for paint. To paint with the 500,000 tractor, since all of that stuff is white. So then that way I'm not getting the white paint out just to paint a couple rims. And the hood is also going to get painted with the 500,000. So all of this stuff you see here is going to all get painted white. So that'll be interesting. So I'm going to get a few things done and come back. Alright, so I took a little break from the trac 14 and I've got a bunch of or about half the stuff sitting right here for actually both tractors. And then the rest of it is right now in the paint booth, just waiting for later on tonight when it's a little bit cooler out. I'm gonna go and paint that, and I'll show you that in a little bit. But right now I was working on the 16 horse Onan for the 500,000 tractor. So I did a test, and it's a pretty simple test, but just make sure that you change your oil after doing this. So what I always do, the only way to really know for sure if your rings, or not your rings, your valves are going to leak really bad or not, is to pour something, have the valves closed, and to pour something down in here and see if it runs out or not. So what I always do, since I pressure wash these engines anyway, inside and out, so water gets everywhere anyway, just make sure you change your oil afterwards and have it dry. But is to pour water down in there, and if you notice it start coming out through here, you got a problem. And in this case, it ran out as fast as it went in. So you take some sandpaper. This is a pretty fine sandpaper. You don't want something very coarse, but you want to get your sandpaper, turn the flywheel so there's just a slight amount of pressure on there. And then right now I'm grinding down the valve seat on the block. Is just to turn the sandpaper, which you'll turn the valve with the sandpaper, kind of like that. And you will actually clean the rust off of the valve seat on the block. And I already did the valve already, so I gotta move this the other way. There we go. But you can see, it's very bad lighting, I'm sorry, but you can see down in there, I guess you can see the valve seat on the block. See how shiny that is now? That was not, here we go. There, now you can see it. You can see how shiny that valve seat is getting in there. That is getting really good. And then the valve itself, there we go, is starting to actually look really good too. I do need to do a little bit more on that. Get a little bit more progress here done on this own end and come back once I get that done. Alright, I am coming back with a little bit different of a view. So that shed that I showed you in the last video, where I rammed my forklift into it, yes, that shed, I actually built it for a paint booth with a dirt floor, believe it or not, which actually seemed to work out fine, even though with the dirt floor, because all this stuff in here looks perfect. I used to be able to paint at my old shop in the shop because that shop was kind of gross and disgusting. My new shop, I'm trying to keep it nice, so no painting should happen in there. So that's why I have this shed now for painting. And the cool thing is I can just basically leave it sit alone without being messed with or disturbed at all. Just basically just close that door and forget it. There is, however, a little bit of gap that needs to get filled in down there to plug the hole. But yeah, all this stuff seemed to turn out good for the $500,000. So I have to repaint these tread pieces because the tape that I had didn't stick very good to that, so it just blew it all off and got painted on. The front grille for the trac 14 turned out nice. The grille for the 500,000 turned out good, other than there's a little weird spot right there that came through, but that's not too bad. The hood for the trac 14 is as flawless as it gets, other than these two holes that were in it that I weren't going to bother patching. But yeah, this thing is, I mean, you can see the reflection in it because I did 2 coats of automotive paint and 2 coats of clear coat that were extremely thick. And when I paint hoods, I go very, very, very thick on the top because it doesn't really run on a flat surface. So I can just layer it on really thick, and since that's the part that you see the most right on top of the hood, I just put as much clear coat on that I can, and that's the part you see that'll look the nicest. The hood for the 500,000, I actually ran out of white paint. But since this is a brand new hood that I actually made, it still has some marker lines on there that decided to bleed through the paint. They're like there. This didn't get filled very nice. It's kind of sharp there too. So all kinds of lines. There's a line there. So that hood will go back in and get kind of redone. And this dash, I just started to paint where I ran out. So inside of the hood, I just rattle canned because it's too hard. It's too hard with automotive to do one side, let it dry, and do the other side, because once as you get the paint gun cleaned, you mess it up just for like an outside of a hood. You mess up the paint gun and have to re-clean it just for a little hood. All these wheels and tires here, I'm going to get some bright white in a rattle can and just rattle can them. I don't like automotive spraying rims because it's too hard trying to tilt the gun upside down trying to spray in there. So rattle can Rust-Oleum, you can spray at any angle. So what I'm going to do next is, as you can see, I got the stuff for the Hydro-Trac 14, wear wheel down to bare metal for the most part, and pressure wash so all the grease and stuff is off it. So first thing, or next thing I'm going to do is get all that white stuff out of here, get all this stuff in there, try to figure out exactly what to do next, and I'll come back on what I decide to do next. Okay, so I got all the Hydro-Trac 14 parts set up for painting, as you can see there. Dash I do still have to bring up front and sand it a little bit because it's a little rough, since I wasn't about to get the dash down to the bare aluminum, because if I go too far, it's aluminum, it gouges pretty easy. I wasn't going to make more work out of it than what it should have been, so I completely forgot that I was supposed to sand that. I need to sand that, as well as this Briggs flywheel shroud that wouldn't really go down to bare metal very easy, so I'm going to take care of them two things. Just kind of go around, make sure everything else is good to go. Otherwise, I'm planning on tomorrow painting this. And as far as today, it is August 29th, Sunday, and this video is supposed to be up in about an hour. So that means I have about an hour or less to edit and upload this video. So I'm gonna be done in just a second here, but this is the stuff that I need to take back up and paint a different color other than the blue. So the hood support, clutch pedal rod, I guess this doesn't get painted. I just realized I haven't taken that off yet, so I went up and grabbed a wrench for that. More deck engager. This parking brake lever was a pain to get out. I actually, I was just going to leave it in there and just forget it. But then I figured out that it really needs to come out and just get fixed right. So what I did is I tipped the frame with this hydro lever sticking off to the side, so sideways. I took a gigantic sledgehammer and I just smashed it out. So the bolt threads on the end are a little messed up, as you can see right there. But I'm going to just cut that off and weld new threads on the end and fix it. So I'm just glad I got it out. But anyway, I'm going to end the video right here so I can get this video edited and uploaded today. And the next one will be about the Hydro-Trac 14, as well as the progress on the 500,000 tractor. So yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll have another video up next week.